This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD in the studio, John Gaetano. He is one of the members of Patir Filius. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Uh, John, first, Patir Filius is Latin, right? And what does it mean?
That's correct. It's Latin, meaning is father, son.
Okay. And I'm assuming that both you and your dad played together. But who was the music person first? Was it one might think that is your dad, but was it your dad that was the first musical person, or was it you?
It was definitely my dad. Yeah, he's been at it for a real long time. Some of my first memories as a toddler was seeing him play. So yeah, he was definitely first.
Hmm. And when he was playing and you were crawling around, what was he playing?
Uh, he he would play at home, and he would play like on an acoustic guitar, um, and his own stuff, some Beatles stuff. And then I remember him playing in his band, which is like a loud 70s rock and roll band. And
Oh.
I remember him playing practice in the basement. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, he since when you started, when he when you started hearing him play already at that time, he was performing, or was he just playing for his own entertainment in the beginning?
He was performing. Yeah, I remember going to see him play at like they would play at like carnivals and stuff, and just locally they play around. Yeah,
Mhm.
they were known as the Cook County Band
Oh,
back in those days.
and how did that name come about?
I don't know. They all lived in Cook County, and they played loud raucous rock and roll. So I'm not sure how that name came, but that's what they were known as. And people who like lived, in the south suburbs in that time, and they probably heard of them or had friends who had heard of them or seen them at a bar at some point.
So, did your dad play covers, or did he write some of his own songs?
Both.
Oh.
They did covers, and then he's had his own songs for decades, and that's what I love about the Patir Filius record is he got to play some of those same songs in a very like more intimate setting because it was just two instruments happening.
Hmm. And there were not many vocals, right, in the tracks.
For the Patir Filius, yeah, he's doing the vocals on most of the songs. He's just
Okay.
got like a wonderful natural pitch voice.
Mm.
I'm doing vocals on a couple of songs as well, but it's a lot of acoustic instrumentation
Mm-hmm.
also.
Okay. So the person that was doing the acoustics was, I mean, the voice was the vocals was mostly your dad.
That's right.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, did he ever tell you, or did he self learn how to sing and play the instrument, or did he was he professionally trained?
I think he took lessons as a kid, um, but not much.
Mhm.
I think he kind of learned what he learned, and then he just ran with it. And
Mhm.
I think that's what a lot of kids do who end up performing in that manner, where they play out at bars and they learn what they can, and then they begin a rock and roll band,
Mhm.
and then you end up playing bars and local fests and stuff. I think that's pretty common, and he just ran with it, and he's just got an awesome voice, always has.
Mhm. And what about you? Did you ever get any professional training?
Very minor, just for a few months. I just learned, like how to like make guitar chords, and I think I learned how to play a song by The Offspring and a song by Silverchair when I was like 13, and then that was it. I was like, well, I think I know enough to play it in my bedroom by myself at least. So then I just stopped going to lessons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But then, how did you start playing with your dad, or was there some in between time when you played with somebody else and not your dad?
Yeah, I didn't start playing with him. I never felt like I was, uh, was traditional enough to play with him because the stuff I played was mainly like metal and punk and grunge type stuff. And just, I got older and slowed down a little bit and got a little quieter. And and um and by that time he was kind of done with the, loud rock and roll because he had done that
Mhm.
his whole youth adult life. But then so we both kind of slowed down at the same time, I'd say, about 7 or 8 years ago. And I started playing the upright bass in my old band.
Mm.
And my dad and I both kind of agreed that, well, it'd be cool to kind of do like an acoustic thing of where he'll play, acoustic guitar and sing, and I'll play the upright bass. So that's what we started doing, and that's what we're doing now.
Mm. Did you experiment before, like play around with the different instruments before your dad decided on that combination was the best?
I think we both sort of knew, so we kind of knew what we were going to get into,
Mhm.
and because he's played for mm, 40 or 50 years at this point, so I'm
Mhm.
sure he's been through all kinds of variations. And I have too in various bands, but I think we both kind of agreed that just it'd be cool just do like a stripped down acoustic, just like two people,
Mhm.
bass and guitar.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what were the what was the name of his band before and yours? Just so our listeners might want to explore, see they hear Patir Filius now, but maybe they want to know like in a previous incarnation, what was the style like before it became Patir Filius?
Yeah, there's been definite different things that I've done, and I kind of where I began playing the upright bass in
Mm-hmm.
a band called Royal Son of a Guns, and
Mm-hmm.
they're very active now. I think they have a show at Reggie's next week, I think. So that's where I started playing the upright bass. I played electric bass, for quite a long time, and actually got that from my dad. I actually took his bass from him uh, about 20 years ago. And that was when he was starting to do like more acoustic stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
was just kind of getting started in playing, loud punk and metal rock and roll. So I just took his bass, the electric bass, and I've played in a handful of bands with that thing. And I'm doing that currently in another band I play in currently now called the Human Trials. And it's back to the electric bass. And I have a drummer, and it's a lot louder and more of the loud noise metal punk type of genre that I've been used to playing in for a couple decades now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, time goes fast when you're having fun and you are evolving too, it seems, right?
Absolutely, very much so. And playing with my dad has definitely evolved me. And
Mhm.
just as far as um, my acoustic and upright bass playing, as well as vocally. Before I was always either like maybe some backup vocals, or just like one or two songs on an album, and that would be it. And it would, much of it live, wasn't very good. And I can admit that in the learning process, but just playing with my dad and playing with a talented singer like that alongside them really has helped me vocally.
Mhm.
So there's a big evolution there.
Do you think you played your 10,000 hours by yourself and with your dad?
Yeah. With my dad, we've practiced probably, I don't know if it's, I couldn't put a number on it, but it's many, many, many hours.
Mhm.
And then it's cool because then we'll like, he'll like make dinner afterwards or we'll go out to lunch or whatever.
Do you feel hungrier after you've been practicing?
Just naturally, yeah, it's like I equate playing with then eating. So after this, I'm gonna go stop at probably Kuma's if they're open.
Uh, when you were young and you were trying to find the gigs, was that hard? Because I think a lot of our listeners they want to uh, try their hand at being an artist as well. And do you how was it with you to
It was it's I'm still I'm old enough where I can claim being old school at this point. And yeah, we used to just, you'd have to go in a place and talk to the bartender and ask, how do we play here? And then they'd give you a card and then you would email or call and then nobody would answer. And then you would do it 5 or 6 times in a 3 or 4 month period. And then finally somebody would answer and they'd throw you a crumb and then, okay, we'll put you on a Tuesday, and that's what you got to do. Now I think it's a little easier. Places that have, social media and websites and you can just message them. But it's, any advice I would have is to just have your stuff easily look upable,
Mhm.
like, have a link, a Bandcamp link,
Mhm.
something on YouTube and make it easy for them to find you if
Mhm.
they look for you.
So no more demo tape now. It's all links, right?
Pretty much, yes. It's all links. Although I do appreciate the old school still. See, I just mailed off an actual, record to Alternative Tentacles, Mr. And it was cool to put it, Alternative Tentacles, attention, Jello Biafra,
Mhm.
for the Human Trials record. And even then, it may end up at the bottom of a pile, and he'll never listen to it. But I still do appreciate when I do hear anybody say, we prefer something in physical form. I do appreciate that. Absolutely.
Do you still plan to follow up like in a couple of weeks? How long will it take before you try to follow up?
No, they even tell you like don't follow up. Yeah.
Oh.
He'll listen to it or he won't, and maybe he'll get back to you. They're brutally honest, and I appreciate that.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Because meanwhile, there's still a lot of other things that you could do to keep yourself busy
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And when did your dad give you advice about getting gigs and producing albums, or did you do it on your own?
No, he kind of just, he yeah, he was always there for any kind of guidance, of
Mhm.
course.
Mhm.
But as far as recording, getting gigs, that I always kind of just my friends and fellow peers who were in bands, we kind of just fed off of each other as far as that's concerned. But
Mhm.
he was always definitely, positive and gave guidance if I ever, I'd always show him what I was working on whenever we would make a demo or whatever, and he would say, "Hey, you should take this to a record label, or you guys, this would be a good place to play because it's more fits this type of music." So he
Uh-huh.
was definitely always there for any kind of advice.
So he was very familiar with the different venues and what music they liked.
Yeah, he's very he's appreciative of a lot of different types of, music and whatnot, and he's been playing for, many, many, many years. So he's been around long enough to recognize, those types of things.
Mhm. And when he learned that you wanted to follow in his footsteps and play music as well, was he encouraging?
Always,
Mhm.
always, yeah. I just from being around music, and I started off with him when I was very small, and then I had friends. One of my best friends, Chris, he started playing in in bands, like out of junior high into early high school, and I was always around for that, and I'd always hang out with, that group of friends. So I was kind of, reintroduced into, live playing instruments and playing guitar, learning, what Nirvana songs I could learn. And then, so I've always been kind of around, people who play music.
Mhm. And so you've mostly been self-taught, right? You just or how did you learn to read music?
No, unfortunately, I can't read music. I took like a class even on like music theory, and I've been taught how to read music. It just never stuck, because we can just look up the tablature if we want to learn a song now. So I respect people who can read music. It's really cool. It's awesome looking, when you look at it, but yeah, I can't read it a single note.
So so do you learn by ear because you can play very well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, by ear, and just there's only so many notes. There's 12 of them. So yeah, by now I can at least figure out like what key something is in, and then kind of go off of that and find out what the progression is and the root notes. And if I want to look something up, if I'm stuck, then I'll look it up. Or you can just go on YouTube now and just, if it's a popular song, there's people playing it on YouTube. You can just watch their fingers.
Oh, wow. You're able to do that?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for you. When did you start being comfortable with performing? Was it you saw your dad and you were always comfortable, or were you not that comfortable in the beginning?
No, like anybody, and very uncomfortable in the beginning. It took a while. It took a while to get comfortable, and just, once you know that you're good on your end, you've practiced the many, many hours, and then that helps with the uncomfortableness. And, I'm sure if I ever play for a crowd more than, 50 people, then I'll probably be a little more uncomfortable. But, when you play in local bars, and, you're used to playing for, a certain number of people, and a good number of them you've seen before, either at various shows, or they also play in, music and bands that you go and see. So no, but by now I'd say I'm pretty comfortable, and my dad is too, I'd say.
And when you play with other bands, let's say a band that you have never played before, is there any trepidation? Are you kind of waiting to see if the two types of music gel together, or do you uh, already see them perform before you agree to play with them?
Uh, no, a little bit of both.
Mhm.
Yeah, sometimes you get put on a bill where all the bands are totally different.
Mhm.
So there are nights like that, and you're just not sure. But for the most part, I mean, I think it's been very, very positive. There's been some nervousness. Like my old band, we opened up for the legendary Shack Shakers,
Mm.
and there was a little bit of nervousness there, just because they're such an awesome band, an awesome live band. Uh, and one of my old bands opened up for Elder,
Mhm.
and that was about 5 years ago, and that was probably that band's best show. That was a band I played in called Sasquatch Turf War, and that was probably our best show, opening up for Elder.
Mhm.
And now Elder is opening up for Tool, so it's fun to say I opened up for a band that's opening up for Tool.
Mhm. Um, and so when you after you finish a performance, do you reflect on how you did, and do you sometimes incorporate changes?
Yeah, sometimes like yeah, like making mental notes, or even if something is like recorded, you can go back and listen to it, like watching film a- after if you played in like a game or something, and you're like in the coach's room. Yeah, there's always that. There's always, oh, I wish I would have done this, or man, this could have gone a lot differently. But in the end, it's, you just try to have fun with it.
And is Patir Filius, is this the your first album with your dad?
Yep, this is it. And that's a drawing that my dad did. So that's his doodle as well.
Wow, he's really multi-talented. Did he ever learn how to draw? And his script is beautiful too. It's very artistic and very clear.
Yeah, no, he just did that on his own.
Wow.
Not really a trained artist. He's like a jack of all trades kind of guy. He's a really good cook too. He owned, when I was a teenager, he had an Italian deli,
Mhm.
and I would go there and make the best grilled cheeses ever.
A grilled cheese like a sandwich?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And there would be like 5 different cheeses in there, grilled
Oh.
tomatoes in there. Yeah.
Mhm.
I like when a grilled cheese has like a bunch of other stuff in it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
That makes the sandwich special.
It does.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about do you know how your dad came to write these songs? Did he tell you?
Few of them, yeah. Some of the older ones, especially, like he's got one called "Hurts More to Break,"
Hmm.
and that was about when he was, you know, when he was around the age where everybody was getting married, and one of his best friends wasn't sure, to take the plunge, so to speak, and he kind of, and you listen to the song, it's kind of the message is, it hurts more to break than bend, because there's going to be a lot of bending
Hmm.
in a relationship and you compromises, but you don't want to just like break it off,
Hmm.
so that's pretty cool meaning. Song called Church Bells and Freight Trains, and
Hmm.
that's a more recent one that he wrote, but it's about the county that he lives in, Lamont, and there's a very, anyone who's been there or lived there knows it's very, there's like over a dozen churches in the town, and like on a Sunday morning, you just hear them ringing. It's really cool.
Mm.
And there's also like a lot of trains that go through the town, so that's
Mhm.
just about the town he lived in, and it's pretty cool.
And why is it that the script for the title for Church Bells and Freight Trains is a little smaller than the other titles? Is there any significance to that?
No, I think it was more the aesthetics of just getting it on the page, because it's
Mhm.
all handwriting,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think it was just to make sure it fits in the section
Uh,
that it was in, because it's a little bit longer title than the rest.
mhm.
There it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any other stories about these other songs?
Yeah, there's a one of mine that I sing, and it's called Shiny Toys, and I think that's mostly about it's about kind of being distracted by by the very things that are destructive. Like this one is about, America's fascination with guns, and
Mhm.
they're everywhere. There's more guns than people now,
Mhm.
and it's I think it's a problem that we've kind of let go and just let run wild. So Shiny Toys is about that basically.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
about turning a blind eye to this problem in the name of patriotism.
Mhm.
Um, Song Editorial is my dad's song, a more recent one, and that's kind of, there's a similar vibe to Shiny Toys, where it's kind of turning a blind eye um, to what has become known as news, even though it's not news. It's editorialism, not journalism. And it's a lot of the cable news, networks are kind of to blame, where there has to be a 24-hour cycle of news now. So then we have it turns into opinion. Now it's like it's the opinion channel, not the news channel.
Mhm.
And I think that can just been very poisonous in general, on both sides of the aisle, and it sucks we have to have just two sides now. And I think that is to blame too, because now you have a lot of just hardened opinions, and people aren't willing to kind of go, to venture away from their opinions now. And I think that's not productive. So his song editorial is about that, and it's creative and well written and well executed. And it's a song that has a clap track on it. And I'd like to thank the good folks at Cave Tone Records. That's where we recorded this. And when we recorded it, when the main engineer, Professor Wallace, was like, this needs a clap track. It just has that, constant. And I of course argued that it doesn't. But we ended up doing it, and it's like the best sounding song on the album now. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And then why is someday that song? Why is some and they in one word?
I don't know. I think that's I don't know why it's one word. I think because that's just, I'm used to saying it really fast, like someday. Like someday this will happen, or I don't know. It's just like, it's not someday, it's someday. So I don't know. That's just how I put it, as just one word.
Well, there seems to be like a more it's more immediate and more like tangible. Someday in one word rather than someday as two words.
I agree. Yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah. That song that's another one of mine. And that's kind of a morbid meaning, but it came from a joke from me and my dad. I think it might have been an anniversary gift from I'm not sure, but he acquired this amazing sounding 12-string Guild acoustic guitar, and it sounds so loud and bright and beautiful. And that's what I used to record this song in the studio with. But long before that song was written, I was just playing it, and it was like he was like making dinner, like after we practiced, I'm just playing this beautiful sounding 12-string guitar, and I'm just playing it, and I was kind of like humming a tune to it, and he comes in the room and he says, "Yeah, you like that guitar, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, like, and it's cool because after you die, this will be mine." and we both kind of laughed, and he said, "Yeah, you should write a song about that." So I did. That's what the song is about.
Oh.
Yeah, I told you it was morbid.
Yeah. And so that's a Guild guitar. So
Yeah.
you mean it's like a gold, or what do you mean by Guild?
Guild is the name of the manufacturer of the guitar, like Fender or Gibson. It's Guild. Yeah.
And you were telling me that you're going to get one of your 50-year-old guitars, your only 50-year-old guitar repaired on account of the wood being like, you're gonna explain to the audience a little bit about that. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so I play in the other band, I play a Rickenbacker bass, and I play two of them. One I've had forever, which was my dad's that I took from him. And then I bought a backup last year, but the backup it has some issues with it, and I'm going to take it in for some repairs. So yeah, I was telling you earlier, I'm getting all my north side errands completed today. It came up here. I just got back from picking up some t-shirts at Modest Merch. Couldn't speak highly enough about them. A lot of my friends in local bands get their shirts printed there. For me, they've gone, of what feels like above and beyond, really fast turnaround times, and just very, very real. He works out of a small shop, and you go in there and pick up your order, and there's like 8 different little stations with, little t-shirt setups and where he's working. And so, yeah, couldn't speak highly enough about Modest Merch. Then I came here for this wonderful interview on WZRD. And after this, I'm going to drop off my backup bass at Third Coast Guitars with Chris Udy, I believe his name is. So getting all the stuff done today.
How long does a guitar last before it needs to go in for a repair? Some part of it wears away, right?
It depends, yeah. I mean, if it depends how well you treat it too. Like I beat the hell out of my guitars, so you know they might need to get serviced a little more often. So it all depends.
Is there anything that you could stain them with that makes them last longer, or it has to be like that kind of texture for you to play on it?
Not really. There's not really like a like a cloak of protectant. It's just it is what it is. They're made of wood and they're, you know, fragile things. And you know, when you beat the heck out of them, they need to get repaired, or just through you know, through natural playing. You know, you need to get them refretted in some manner. I think my backup needs a new nut, which is the part at the very top that when you put strings on, then they go over a nut, and the nut's a little worn. So it's not a large repair.
Yes. And different guitars sound different, right? And this one is could you just get, since you're an expert at this, how does this one sound versus another one that you own?
On the album here, I'm playing an upright bass, which is this big guy, and that's a totally acoustic, you know, hollow instrument. Much different sound than the electric bass. And there's different, you know, different acoustics and electric guitar brands as well, and they all have their own distinct sound, and that's why people end up playing them, because they love the way this particular brand sounds as opposed to this, and different types of wood and the way they're constructed. Yeah, it's just like anything, like if you prefer a certain bike or a certain car, or you know, certain juice.
So how long were you playing before you were able to distinguish like the differences between instruments, like the way they're made and the way they sound?
As far as play, it's more I guess once I started playing regularly and got to kind of know what certain things sound like live, then I kind of realized over time of what I listen to as well. It's like it can be like, oh, I play a Rickenbacker. Now I can tell, you know, when and certain like Beatles songs, when Paul McCartney would be playing his Rickenbacker, or certain like Rush sound or songs, or you know, and it's just yeah, like that kind of becomes like second nature as far as like what sounds like what. And then just kind of over time, you know, like, okay, so Geezer Butler of Black Sabbath played a Fender jazz bass, and you know, now I know what a Fender jazz bass sounds like, because that's ingrained into my skull from when I was a teenager. So yeah, kind of just once I started playing, and kind of then that sunk in even more. Yeah.
And by now, do you when you're ready to play a song, do you already have like an idea about which instrument will sound the best, like the regular bass or the backup bass?
No, I'm trying to, and it's very, I'm trying to get my backup bass to sound exactly like the the bass I've been playing, because I want it to sound exactly like it, and that's kind of why I'm bringing it in. I was there at Third Coast a couple weeks ago and had them uh, go over some way that it's wired, the actual pickups in the guitar, and they weren't wired the same, because around there My original is a 75 Rickenbacker,
Mhm.
and the backup is a 76.
Oh,
And oddly enough, just from like looking online, there's that cutoff year is the year they started using a different wiring and a different um, pickup.
oh,
So I'm actually kind of taking it in. I took it in 2 weeks ago to get it wired differently. Um, and now I'm getting the nut replaced.
wow.
So
Mhm.
I want it to be like exactly the same, which is kind of annoying because they were handmade bases back then. This is,
Mhm.
almost 50 years ago. So it's hard to get something two that sound exactly the same. But in my fashion, it's an anthill I'm gonna die on. So I want it to sound the same.
Mhm. And it is doable.
It is doable. You just have
Good.
to be a pest, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So what you mean is that you're going to after the repairman finishes it, the repair person, then you test it to see if it's sounding like the way you want it to sound.
Yes, I literally will sit there with both basses and
Uh-huh.
plug each one in and play the same riff over and over until it sounds the same. And I'll say, if it's good enough, I'll say, okay. If it's not, I'll say, nope, do something else. Make this one sound like this one.
And your repair person knows you already. You've done this before.
Hmm.
Okay.
Shout out to Chris Udy, and I think the other guy's name is Kevin. Yeah, I think it's Kevin. And Kevin's a good guy.
Mhm.
Never met a bad Kevin.
Mhm. Well, well, John Gaetano, if our listeners want to learn more about Pater Filius and about where you will be playing, how should they get the information?
Yeah, you can look us up on we're on Instagram and the Facebook. Um, two social media is enough. I'm not doing any more, so just that's it. So you can look on there. We have a Bandcamp, patirfilius .bandcamp.com, and our next show is at Miskatonic Brewery in Darien on April 26th with the wonderful Sherilyn Tomlin. So she's awesome. You should look her up as well. And then I also have a show in the other band. Can I have that on?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah, let's
definitely.
put this on there.
Okay.
While I'm here, I'm gonna get it all in.
Yes.
This is the Human Trials, and we have a show at the Liars Club um, on April 20th. And that'll be with Sons of Ra, We Killed the Lion, and Dead Languages. So stop on in Liars Club and check us out.
Do you want to discuss about how you came to create the Human Trials record?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We formed at the height of the pandemic. And I wanted to specifically do something with two people because it's an easy way to travel. You just get in the car and go. Um, there's one other person's work schedule to have to work around.
Mhm.
But this is like the anti Paterfilius. It's
Oh.
loud, it's noise, it's punk, it's metal, it's a little bit of weird prog as well.
Mhm.
And I'm playing the Rickenbacker, mostly distorted, and we have a wonderful drummer who's he's just pummeling and plays a lot of weird times stuff as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm kind of doing, I have a quiet side and a loud side,
Mhm.
and both of these come out in the music that I make.
Are there any vocals in the Human Trials?
Yeah, there's vocals. All the vocals are me, but there are some instrumentals too when you get tired of being yelled at. So yeah, I'd say we have two instrumentals and one of the songs is mostly instrumentation. So there's a kind of little bit of everything on here.
And Human Trials came out after Pater Filius?
Yeah, just a couple years later, and we recorded this at Electrical Audio right down the street with Mr. Greg Norman. Awesome experience. And yeah, it came out last year. We released this on also Cave Tone Records, which we share with Patir Filius, and then two other wonderful local labels called Dead Sage and Rat's Pizza Records, and both of those are on the south side, and both are made of wonderful people who are just kind of, they live and breathe music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, John Gaetano of Patir Filius and the Human Trials.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the Human Trials, do you have gig dates for them as well, or do you have a website for the Human Trials?
Human Trials, we're also on Instagram
Okay.
and Facebook, and
Okay.
we're on Bandcamp, and we're on the you can look up both bands on streaming as well. You know, we're on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, all that stuff. So yeah, you can we're out there if you look for us.
Okay. Thank you so much, John Gaetano, for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.
Thank you.